Now I'm very excited to welcome back one of the sportsbook's most despised human beings from a college football side, and Mr. Brad Powers from BradPowers.com. You can follow Brad at BradPowers7. Brad, man, we haven't had you on since Christmas. We're talking college football. What's going on this year in the Brad Powers college football market?
Well, it depends when you use the word despise. I mean, it depends. It's a year by year basis because some years they might like me. A few years ago, they certainly did. Last year, maybe not as much, but we'll see. I try not to get too far up, too far down. We'll see. The game's ever changing. I can tell you that. So whenever you think the old Roddy Piper, just when you think you know the answers, he changes the questions. That's what I feel like with college football anymore, with all the, shakeups as far as the playoff expansion that will be happening, not necessarily this year, but we're going to 24 soon, and everything else that's going on in the sport. I mean, hell, look no further than last year. You had the losingest program in the history of the sport entering the season, Indiana, and they win the national championship. So, I like it right now. It's certainly different than what we had the previous 10, 15 years. So right now I'm pretty happy in the world of college football.
I am too, even with a little bit of consolidation. They're still kind of, staying whole at least. I don't like the 24 playoff discussion at all. The regular season means a lot more to me than that. And I think that, kind of some of the things you said about Indiana, I mean, I love it. I love that I was ahead of it the year before. I didn't bet them that year, but I did get the nice playoff bet. And I love the fact that they did it, but I'm also envious as a Badger fan. That's what I wanted to see for my program, my friend. I'm still, I envy what happened for them. And,
imagine, being in the same state as this team, who beat them in the playoffs the year before, still can't win a title. Rough.
I didn't think of the state, but at least they're not in the same conference, let's say. But that's definitely a rougher situation than I even thought of. Play like a champion today. Love the Irish hat you're wearing today, Brad. Looking good. But here we are. I mean, we are talking in May here, and you've already made plenty of bets, which I'm very excited to hear some of them. But you always go to stadiums. I mean, like, you do stadium tours. You love filling up your Twitter with, some of those videos, which is awesome. I watch all of them. What stadiums have you went to this year, and where do you plan on going?
Yeah, I just went to 3 spring games, so no big stadium tour yet. Just felt like watching some ball during the month of April. So I went to BG, obviously my alma mater. It's close to home. So I wanted to go to Tennessee that day and couldn't because I wanted to make a whole weekend out of it, hiking the Smokies, and it just didn't work out. Also went to Michigan. I'd never been to the Big House for a game inside that stadium, so that was fun, even though the weather was not great. And then I went to Notre Dame because that's basically my second home. So nothing too great, wild yet. I got a couple of trips planned, July-ish, Northeast. I've really never traveled the Northeast before, so I've never been to almost any of those states up there. So I'm going to do that in addition to hit all the Northeast stadiums. The one that I'm probably looking forward to most is Army. And I've held off on this for a while because they've been redoing their stadium. And I know it's getting close to being completed. So I'm really looking forward to getting on that West Point campus.
Absolutely. That's definitely a bucket list one for you, and something I'd like to go to someday as well. So, well, that's awesome. And, seeing them all is fun. And you have to sometimes get by security, which is also kind of fun. A little action in your day. You just never know what you're going to get when you're walking up there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that. I've gotten a lot more aggressive with some more recent trips. Sneaking in the Rose Bowl is probably my most proud moment. And I'm glad I did because, I've taken almost all of them with my dad. So for him to, be a fan of the sport for all his years and finally be on the field at the Rose Bowl, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. I mean, can't put a price on that.
Well, you just put one of those construction hats, hard hats on, and then one of those reflective, green construction over your shirt things. And I think you'll have no problem. You just go in there and be like, yeah, I'm just doing some assessments and estimates.
That's excellent. Yeah, you do. You don't act like an idiot. You do act like you belong. I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you have that stupid look in your face, they know exactly that you're up to no good. Yeah, obviously, really not no good, but that's what they assume. Let's talk about the FBS, man. Okay, so I loaded my schedule, and I do this by hand because they're my power ratings, and I don't want anybody messing with them. And it took me forever as usual, but now it took me longer because we have new FBS teams coming in. This, obviously college football division, top division, FBS. Are there too many teams now? What's your perspective on that?
It's certainly created a lot more work than when I started. I think I think there wasn't even, maybe there was 120. It was either 118 or 120 when I started in the industry 15 plus years ago. 20 extra teams means basically 20 extra days, over the calendar year. So yeah, a lot more work. And also I do FCS stuff. So that's created a lot more work. So I'm not going to complain about it, but what I would like to see is, and I think we're eventually getting there, I'd like to see the top 30, 40 schools break away and become like NFL light, so to speak, because their payroll is just, I mean, the gap is so incredibly large compared to even what it was 5 to 10
Yeah.
years ago. I'd like to see those schools, the Big Ten, the SEC, break away, and then everybody else go play for a national title. And I actually would probably gravitate more towards that, as far as being a fan of the sport. So that's what I'm kind of hoping.
Wow, breakups, the Big Ten and SEC for the kind of the biggest one. That's interesting. We've had these conversations for years. Is that a switch that you kind of made?
Well, I mean, I get, and that's where we're heading. So I mean, either accept
Mhm.
it or sit here and bitch about it all the time.
Oh,
So I mean,
exactly.
yeah. I mean,
We get a
I
lot.
think that's where we're heading. I mean, come on. I mean, we'll talk about it when we're talking Big 12, but I mean, you got a team like Texas Tech that's got, a 40, $50 million payroll. And I don't think anybody else in the conference is even half of that. So, I mean, come on, you're not playing the same sport. I mean, it doesn't guarantee that a team like Texas Tech is going to win it, but still, I mean, over time, I mean, everybody wants parity. You're not going to get it. In fact, you're going to get less parity in a lot of these conferences. So
I,
we'll see what
you
happens.
you open my mind to a new perspective. I will consider that. The old ancient proverb: "Money talks, bullshit walks," and that's the situation that we're always in life. So maybe it would be beneficial to have.
Well, also think, I mean, compared, SEC and Big Ten are running things. I mean, per school, it's going to add. We're not seeing too much of it now, but just think. I mean, come on, this is pretty basic. Those schools and those conferences are getting an extra 30, 40, maybe even $50 million per year over those Big 12 and a majority of the ACC schools. Over time, that's going to certainly show. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
would like to eventually see a breakup then.
Okay. Well, there you go. And it'd be less playoff teams for each, most likely, and it would just I wonder if some of those, like, well, let's just call them those Boise States, those even those, I mean, Syracuse wouldn't be in it. Some of the ACC teams, I mean, would that be, of course, Florida State would try to move to the SEC. I mean, I wonder if that would affect the people going to their games. And there's a lot to do with that kind of thought process, but we'll revisit that again. That's a great perspective. What's up, Josh? Thanks for stopping in. He was on the other day. Josh is like 24/7 football, so you should follow old Step on the Duck over there if you have a chance. What's the deal with this flex schedule for the Pac-12, man? I mean, I'm loading the schedule, which is cool. I got to see every team's schedule. I made a bunch of notes about it, but man, it's like we're not sure about the last game. Are we even going to get a season win total? These guys?
No, I don't think we. I mean, what you need to know is there's enough uncertainty where I don't think they're going to post win totals on the Pac-12. So they have an idea of what the matchups are going to be. You at least know who's going to play a away game in that final game of the regular season, who's going to have a home game. And then they have certain matchups, kind of set where it's going to Boise State at Utah State, San Diego State, Fresno, Texas State at Colorado State, Oregon State at Washington State. However, you're not going to fully know until 6 days prior to the games because they could want to adjust the matchups to, create more interesting matchups for the final week of the season. I mean, I don't know. I get why they had to have home and home, and you only have 8 teams in the conference. If you're not playing one team twice, you only got a 7-game conference schedule. So I understand in that regard, but it is what it's college football. It's not a perfect system. I can tell you that they got to get another team.
I'm sure the sports books are not putting in much of a priority on that either, but you could do season win total with 11 games. I guess you could just do a modified one, but that's
but I think that just opens Pandora's box. I mean, how many people betting that? I mean, They're gonna
Yeah.
see that final win total and be like, "Well, we went over it," Not, "Oh, I forgot it only counted the first 11." I doubt they put them up.
Yeah, me too. Josh threw it out there too, but I think that it's not worth it, and it would open up Pandora's box too, because it would put a lot of confusion out there, and people will make the wrong bets also, and there's just a lot to think about when it comes to that. But it is kind of weird that they did it, and I loaded my schedule with those teams that were most likely, like you mentioned before. So that's
Yeah.
what I loaded for now, and I'll change it that last week when that happens. I mean, are they going to make a dent? It's not like they're going to be the old Pac-12 again. I think it's weird. It's like a Sun Belt's kind of in the West Coast. I'm going to call it the West Coast Sun Belt because I mean, you got Boise State and everybody else. Really, I mean, I don't think Washington State's going to compete with Oregon State with Boise that much.
It's basically like Mountain West Plus is what it is.
Plus,
So you
because of
got
Boise.
Mountain West Light and Mountain West Plus now. So
There you go.
I mean, Boise State to me right now, if I had to, I think they're the best Group of 5 team. Although we'll see, like South Florida brought in a bunch of big time transfers. But I mean, what gets me you asked me earlier how my tunes changed a little bit, where I'd like to see the great teams that the programs are spending break away is what I don't want to see is 2 Group of 5 teams in the playoffs.
No,
I mean, I don't know why we're finally rewarding the Group of 5 when there's never been a bigger gap between the power conferences and the Group of 5 than ever before. If you want to reward them, the time to reward them was 15 years ago with those Boise, TCU, and Utah teams. Now's not the time. Boise's probably the best. So, I mean, I would like to be able to at least bet a conference future on them, but we'll see if they even post that when not knowing, who that final game is.
There's no bitterness from Irish fans on those 2 Group of 5 teams making the playoffs from last year. So as Badgers are number 1 for me, my anger shifted towards Alabama more. It just shifted towards more Alabama because I sniffed out their bullshit before, and I just didn't. Here's the thing. Group of 5 is a stupid rule. And the truth is Alabama should be ahead of the Group of 5 teams. Notre Dame should have been way ahead of everybody else. And except, maybe Ohio State and Indiana, right? Oregon, maybe. But like literally, that was just an absolute embarrassment of like saying it's our way or the highway. We don't care about who's better for real because we know that, but kiss my what. That's what I felt the committee said to us because Alabama is just got
it was just if they'd have had Notre Dame ranked behind Miami the whole time, then you don't have a problem with it. But to do that on the final week, I thought was total bullshit. Alabama getting benefit of the doubt. Nick Saban's no longer there, so and then the whole process was a joke. ACC having a 7-5 Duke team playing for the ACC championship was a joke. They won it, but Miami should have been in that game. There was a failure on every single level. I would have said that. I mean, forget take the Notre Dame cap off. If it had been Wisconsin, your team or any team, shafted that bad, I'd still be fired up because it's a team that's I don't know how you can a team that's legit in a power rating if that's what you do, 3rd or 4th, not being able to make a 12-team playoff is it's a failure.
Oh, and obviously the ACC failed Miami by throwing Duke in there the way that their rules went. So there's it kind of fed down to the ACC, making it them allowed to use an excuse. So it goes down even farther. But we've done this to death, man. It's talking about 2026 now. How about week 0 is so interesting, Brad. I believe I see more week 0 games this year, and do we start calling this week 1? I don't know, but here's
next year it's week 1.
Okay, good. And I'm always in Vegas for the circuit contest that week. But week 0 games and 2 bye weeks. I have a question. Would you rather have a tough week 0 game and 2 bye weeks? And I'm talking from a power conference perspective, or just a normal with 1 easier game? I had to make this question a little bit harder because I think you'd always take the 2 bye weeks. But that's why I said, would you have a tough week 0 game that could mess you up for the playoffs or give you some accolades if you win?
It's a good question. I'd take the 2 bye weeks. I just, an extra chance to get healthier late in the season. And especially with them going to expand the playoffs even further. Hell, who cares if you lost 3-4 games? You're playing. Everybody gets a playoff bid. So give me the 2 bye weeks. That's what they're going to starting next year. So week
Right.
0 will be the new week 1 there in August.
Yeah.
FCS is already doing it this year. They're going to play a full regular season schedule. They're starting in that final week of August.
Smart. And let's get going playing some college football. I mean, it goes deep enough into cold weather. Might as well put a little bit more towards the
Oh,
warm
you're not
summer.
one of these that thinks it's just going to be too hot. I mean, you just can't play college football. You're not one of those.
I golf in 110 degrees here in Arizona, my friend.
mean,
I'm okay with it. So play college football.
There were still 2-a-days in high school when I was in there playing.
Yeah.
I mean, doing that in late July, early August. Come on now, folks.
Yeah, they
okay.
Absolutely. Thanks for checking in, Mason. Yeah, Geniuses by Hunter Yurchek, right? So there you go. No disagreement there. Thanks for checking in, bud. Let's talk some college football early plays then. So why don't we just kind of, and this is very general because, we're not going to deep dive every single team right now, but like, let's just go conference by conference, a little group of 5 afterwards. Let's talk the Big Ten first, since the Big Ten won it all. The conference that it really took over after the SEC's demise. And here we are, the Big Ten even winning in college basketball finally. But, we got the Big Ten and, there's 18 teams in the Big Ten. Have you sniffed out any inconsistencies or anything wrong in the early schedules for season win totals or futures?
Well, you know me, I bet quite a few. I think I'm over 80 bets already. And a lot of them win totals. I guess the shocker to me, I mean, I understand why it was a little lower because they play arguably their toughest schedule that I've ever seen them play. But seeing the Buckeyes with a 9.5 win total, a school that hasn't lost 3 games in regular season since 2004. I don't count the Luke Fickell year where Tressel got fired in May and Pryor was suspended.
Nope,
come on, that's an asterisk. So I did bet over there. That's probably my biggest position. Now, look, I mean, they do play Indiana. They play Texas on the road, non-conference. They play USC on the road. They got Oregon, Michigan. But, I mean, I just do not see Ohio State losing 3 games in the regular season. So that was my biggest position. In the weeds a little bit more, the latest one that I bet, that's still, I mean, we'll see what happens. Of course, the quarterback gets a DUI, but I liked what I saw from the Minnesota spring game. They bring a ton of returning production back. I think they've done a decent job recruiting, provided he doesn't get suspended, the quarterback, who I'm not a huge fan of, but I liked what they did specifically in the portal with the wide receivers. Minnesota, for me, over 5.5 wins. That was at least the most recent bet that I made in the conference.
Okay, Minnesota, over 5.5. Brad rowing the boat. Look at that. PJ Fleck fan. Closet PJ Fleck fan right here. Now, I mean, they're always a thorn in our side, as a Badger fan. So they are now juiced to minus 150. So you probably grab that at what, like plus 100 or something?
Nah, it's minus 125.
Okay, so only moved 25 cents for good old Brad. And Ohio State's at minus 165.
I still think that's playable.
I see the Minnesota might regress a little bit from a numbers perspective because you move it early and then some of the books kind of get stubborn and go back. But like I feel like the belief in Ohio State's going to be a hell of a lot more than Minnesota's number.
I would agree. The Ohio State number is not coming down unless I don't want to jinx it. Jeremiah Smith gets hurt, but that's not coming down.
I don't think that matters if he gets hurt. They're loaded. It don't matter. They got other series there. They'll be fine. He's a massive threat. Don't get me wrong. So what about like Michigan sitting there? Michigan, big talked about team, new coach and Whittingham coming in. Their number is 8.5 to the over plus 130, under is minus 165.
Yeah, I mean, I bet almost every team. I bet under.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not buying. It's moved 30, 40 cents since I bet it. Still would bet it. Look, I like the Whittingham hire. I don't love it though. What's the best case scenario? You get 5 good years out of them. I don't know what the expectations are because are the expectations those 3 awesome years under Harbaugh, or is it more what the program's been the last 30 years? And that's kind of like 9-3 ish. I think if that's your expectations, then I think Whittingham will be able to achieve that. But The thing I really don't like is Bryce Underwood, the quarterback. I just still haven't seen him get any better. I was at the game. I didn't see it. Again, 15 more practices, and I know it's a new system, but he just looks like the same old like he did. He didn't improve at all from game 1 to game 12 last year and didn't look any better so far this year. He's only going to be a sophomore. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but what I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt is the schedule. I mean, they got to play the big boys. They got to play Indiana, at Oregon, at Ohio State,
Right.
Penn State, Oklahoma in the non-conference, and tricky games at Iowa at home, at Minnesota, who I kind of like.
You
I
like,
just they're not beating the 3 big boys. That's 3 losses. They're going to sweep every other game. I don't see it. So 8 and
yeah,
4.
that's very possible. So have you ever been to Lambeau Field?
I will be there on September. What is it? The 6th. I'll be there.
Oh, there you go. Wisconsin season win total 6.5, playing Notre Dame in Lambeau Field. Did you get your tickets yet?
I'm not.
Okay.
Somebody's got to come through for me. He said it's a good chance he will. If not, I'll pay the $700-800 or whatever they're going for now.
Shoot me a message. Shoot me a message. I'll see what I can do for you. But I got connections up there. But here's the thing: this season win total was pretty affected by, obviously the big Notre Dame game. You're sitting there at a 19.5 point favorite. I mean, Badgers get Colton Joseph. They get a guy from the transfer portal. And to be honest with you, the more I read about the Badgers, it seems like their quarterback room is semi decent right now, which is very shocking. And Daniels has been demoted. It just feels like, they're kind of doing a few right things, but I mean, this is a big 19.5 spread at Lambeau. Which direction are you going on it?
I bet Notre Dame. Wouldn't bet it at the current, but if I laid it, I think they're
I
going to
saw
be very
16.5 for a second, like a
And
day.
what? Well, you know what I bet then.
Okay. I was thinking about joining you actually that day.
Yeah, not that I'm super. I think Wisconsin's legitimately improved. I like Colton Joseph. I could see him running around, getting first downs on 3rd and longs against Notre Dame and being, a thorn in their side. But I think people forget. I know it's a big number, but go look at some of those numbers the Badgers are getting last year against the Buckeyes, against Oregon, against Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, and Notre Dame's just as good as those teams heading into this year. Right? In fact, I mean, they're a legit national title contender. They did a good job in the portal. I just don't think they, did enough to. I mean, Notre Dame did a good job in the portal and recruiting.
Right.
I mean, they're bringing in the best talent that they have in 3 decades. So it should be a great environment. I just think Notre Dame pulls away in the end, wins by, I bet late 16.5 because I think 17-20 is probably a legitimate. That's where it's going to close, in my opinion.
All right. Well, Brad agrees with the market there.
I did lean under 6.5 though, because I will say this: any sort of trouble. I mean, when you got a coach on the hot seat, it seems to like multiply. You get any sort of negativity, it just really multiplies on a guy that's on the hot seat. So that they can ill afford an upset loss there. The good thing for Wisconsin is the schedule outside of that Notre Dame game is a lot more manageable than it's been the last couple of years.
All right, so under 6.5 though. Maybe so. Duck likes the offense a little bit. Jeff Grimes better get these boys going this year. Very interesting, Wisconsin. They lost some dudes, but they got some dudes on net 3 net transfer portal rankings. What about anything else before we move on? Any other things in the Big Ten that are bettable right now, or anything sticking out to you?
I did play some Penn State under. It's heavily juiced now, 9.5. I mean, Matt Campbell's going to have to go, 10. I mean, the schedule's very manageable. Obviously, there's a lot of, continuity with them bringing over 13 starters from Iowa State, but that was an Iowa State team that won 7-8 games in the Big 12. And now those starters are going to play in a much tougher conference. I know they avoid the 3 big boys in the Big 10, no Ohio State, no Indiana, no Oregon, but I can't count on them to not suffer an upset loss or 2, because that's what Matt Campbell's done the last 4 or 5 years. He suffered 2-3 upset losses every single year. So I don't see 10-2. 9-3 is a more legit number there. So that's another. I bet one team I changed my opinion on. Ooh. UCLA. Okay. I saw 6.5 win total. I'm like under. I just come on 7 wins in the Big Ten for a first year coach off a 3-win season. That's a lot, but boy, the vibes are good there. And I love Bob Chesney. And they returned a lot, and they're bringing in a ton of guys from JMU. Tell me if you heard this before. 9 starters from James Madison. I think they're a bowl team this year. So that's probably the one team in the country where my opinion kind of changed during spring on them.
Did you bet both sides or just
I
get out
did.
of
I
your
bet.
bet?
You know me. Under 6.5, over 5.5 is what I
Okay,
bet.
so you're definitely going for the middle. Okay, that makes total sense. If you look at and Bob Chesney is funny. How do you have Kirk Signetti and go to Chesney? What the hell is going on over there? I look at my school. I'm like, get your head out of your ass. It's like
It's
they
not
seem to
rocket
be making a
science.
lot of good moves. I mean, obviously Billy Napier could be different, but if you parlay Ohio State over 9.5 with Oregon at minus 240 over 9.5, you get like 1.5 plus 150. So I think about that. I don't see either of these teams losing 2+ games, more than 2, right? That's not
No.
bad. I'm gonna look at that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm surprised some of these. I'm glad you brought that up. I have looked at that they're allowing some parlays on some of these, and then they one book already has some alternative win totals already up.
Yeah.
And they're allowing you to parlay a couple teams. I like the teams that are stable at the top. I mean, you know what you're getting from Ohio State every single year. Yeah, I mean, Oregon's in that boat right now, unless there's an injury. One other thing I want to mention, I kind of like Oregon quite a bit, like nationally. Like if I had to pick a team right now to win it all, it'd probably be Oregon. I know they got to play at Ohio State, but obviously you can lose a game now and still be fine. But I love their defensive line. It might be the best in the country. I don't like Raiola, but I like him as a backup quarterback. I mean, that's a pretty, Dante Moore gets banged up a game or two to have a safety net like Raiola to play quarterback for you. I mean, that's other teams don't have that. So I like their wide receivers with Stewart healthy. I watched about 20 spring games, and they were probably the most complete team. Now, I caveat and say like teams like Indiana, Notre Dame, Ohio State had like 5-6 starters out, but from what I saw with the eye test, man, Oregon really passed it.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Let's move to the Big 12. So what do you think about the Big 12? You got Texas Tech on top, and you and I texted a little bit about his obvious Sorsby and his issues, some of degenerate issues. It's so funny. It's like, I wouldn't say that there are issues. We were responsible. We'd like to think so anyway. But man, I mean, I heard he made a lot of freaking bets in college football, the sport he's playing. I mean, is there a chance this dude's coming back? And what do you think about Texas Tech?
He can't come back. You can't set that precedent. Guy bet on college football. He's out. I don't care if they were $1.50 same game parlays. He's out. I mean, I just can't imagine him playing. What's that do for Tech? Obviously got downgraded them 3-4 points. I mean, they brought him in to go make a run at the national title. With that being said, I still think this program's head and shoulders above everybody else in that league. Again, it starts with the payroll. They got a $40-50 million payroll, and top 5-6 in the country. I would guess, and again, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but the BYU's, the Utahs in the world are probably dealing with more of like a $20 million payroll. So I still would favor, without Sorsby at quarterback, Tech by at least a touchdown over the second best team, that being BYU. So I'm still all in. My biggest position still right now in the conference futures market is Texas Tech to win the Big 12.
All right, 100% Texas Tech to win the Big 12, even with the backup in there. Yeah, I don't know how good he is. He was a backup last year and he got hurt, right? I think he's
played a little bit. Played well against Utah on the road, and then got hurt. That's the problem, is he tore his ACL in October, might not be healthy at the start of the year. But I'll say this. Quarterback was the problem last year. If Will Hammond's his name, if he's somewhat healthy, especially for the run at the end of the season, I think he could be a better quarterback than Baron Morton last year. So
Baron Morton, what a choke job in the playoffs. He screwed up his draft stock pretty bad. Not that he deserved to be drafted anyway, but it's just like when it's easy, it's easy. But when the times got tough, he screwed that up. How about Cincinnati? I took under Cincinnati, under 5.5. I don't see any way that they're winning 6 games myself. I look at their schedule. It looks pretty difficult to me. And I also look at the fact that they lost a ton of guys. I mean, they only rank 62nd in the On3 net transfer portal rankings. I guess they're 38th on 247, but that's not high enough for me. And they lost their quarterback. I thought their quarterback, maybe betting on himself, played way better than everybody else on his team. I thought he was the reason they won a few games last year. So what do you think about Cincinnati's win total?
Yep. My most recent bet that's probably still holding value is Cincinnati under 5.5. Another situation where you got a coach legitimately on the hot seat and anything goes wrong, and it can even, early as the Boston College game. If it goes wrong, then it just multiplies. I don't like their transfer quarterback, French, the kid from Georgia Southern, turns it over too much as far as I'm concerned. They lost a lot of their front, arguably their best players on the roster transferred out. I also think it's a problem when you got a starter transferring to like Miami, Ohio. I just that screams like there's an issue there. So yeah, I think you got a good bet there. The team I'm kind of pro on, first year coach. I like Kansas State. I think schedule wise, it's a dream. Not playing Tech, Texas Tech, and BYU, Utah. A lot of the key games at home. I mean, I could see him being favored in 10 or 11 games. So over 7.5, it was a pretty sizable bet that I made there.
Yeah, you and Josh both. I'm on the other side. I don't like Kansas State, man.
Really? Why not?
Because I think Avery Johnson has head issues. I think that there's something wrong with the dude. I mean, he's never thrown past 61% completion percentage. Did you not like Kleiman? I mean, I did.
I didn't like him. I thought he was overrated.
All right. Well, yeah, I kind of did. And they're bringing in the ex-quarterback, that guy, that coach, offensive coordinator that came in. He goes to Texas A&M and does nothing with Marcel Reed. Of course, yeah, Marcel Reed, just by sheer size, freaking beat everybody. But once they stepped up in competition, they didn't do nothing.
Good
I thought he was shut down. And then I look at the net transfer portal rankings on Kansas State, and it's pretty bad itself. It's in the 60s. I think a lot of people bailed. It's actually 60th right now. And 40th on 247. It's plus money, and maybe you guys made it plus money for me. It's like plus 130 something under 7.5. So it's like, I'm going to look at it as an alt line, but if I'm right about Avery Johnson, more or less, and kind of like a honeymoonish year for Colin Klein coming in, maybe it is, but the dude's 36 years old. A little too close to the age of these college guys. I don't know. I think it could be a rough first year, but both you and Josh are against me on this one. So
the thing, I mean, they probably the last couple of years should have been better than their record. Even last year, I mean, that team from a power ratings aspect, I treated them more like an 8-9 win team. That's probably where some of the issues are. But I'm for the most part, I'm going against the grain because normally I'm very pessimistic about first year coaches. That's just one that I kind of went different. Now you got me concerned a little bit.
Oh, no, you stick with your guns, but I think one we both might agree on is Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, Dion.
Yeah.
I mean, can he even concentrate in college football this year with all going on in Cleveland? And NFL, his health problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is his last year. So it's another situation where he's not on a hot seat, but I think if it starts going bad, you'll see. I hate using the quit factor, but I thought we saw it in certain points last year. That Utah and Arizona back-to-back weeks was as bad as any team played at the Power 4 level last year. I just look at the schedule. I think the team's better this year and deeper, but there's one easy game, Weber. Other than that, I mean, every single game is they're going to have to fight claw and scratch. They have to win a road game in September, and they got 3 of them. Yeah. And I think they're going to be an underdog in all 3. Georgia Tech, Northwestern, and the non-conference, and Baylor. They got to win one of them. If they don't, then it's over. I mean, looking at it in another 3-9 type of year.
Yeah, 2-2 minimum to start. You need 3 more wins. Where are they? At Oklahoma State, maybe. But the unfortunate thing is they got the harder teams at home, like Utah and Houston. I'd rather have harder teams on the road and then get the 2 easier ones at home. That's the way I always think. And even at Cincinnati, it's like, Jesus, that's not going to be great. And then you're going to be sitting with 3 wins most likely, late in November, and you got UCF at home, and that's going to, possibly decide it here. But I'm with you on the under. I'm going to bet that as well today. So Colorado under. I just didn't get to it yet. We got a great question from Dill Sanders. With NIL, is it easier to evaluate how good a coach is, or is it harder than it was? He's thinking about Joey McGuire at Texas Tech. And I know he knows you don't like hype, he says.
Yeah, it's a good question. Probably hard. I mean, because he could still be a pretty mediocre coach, but a la Joey McGuire, who I think is pretty mediocre. But when you got funds that he has at his disposal, makes him better than what, he actually is. and he's right. I'm not a fan of Heupel. So McGuire will get again. I like Texas Tech in the Big 12, but I think it's much like last year. They'll get exposed as soon as they make the playoff. So,
Yeah.
and Heupel won't have to worry about. He made the playoffs a couple years ago, but obviously got exposed there in Columbus, and won't be making the playoffs in my opinion anytime soon. So
It's like it's about smelling out frauds, because you can just beat the crap out of people with pure skill, but once you have to actually be a coach and X's and O's and make changes and adjustments at halftime and things like that, that's when you really find out, right? I like Joey McGuire from a recruiting perspective when that hire was made. He was very well known in Texas. He was in the high school range for a long time, and it actually worked out for them. But now they're just buying their players. I mean, I'm going to give them a pass for losing the first game this year. I mean, it's a big stage for them. It was the very first time that team made it up there. But we're going to know more about Joey McGuire after next year. And yeah, Heupel has not brought them exactly to the promised land, although they're better than they used to be in the SEC over there. Well, let's anything else in the Big 12 that we missed?
No, I don't think so.
Let's move on to the ACC then. And you obviously have Miami as the favorite to pretty much do everything there, but Miami tends to shit the bed a lot. Now, is your thoughts on Cristobal better now for like kind of what they did in the playoffs? I almost feel like they were kind of playing with that edge and the house money and, nobody believed in us and now we're here. I think that played a difference for how far they went, but I'm not sold still on Cristobal myself.
I can make a case that makes him look worse that he lost to SMU and Louisville after watching them what they did at the line of scrimmage. And again, they're not doing anything; they're just beating people up. I mean that should create less variance when you're that much better than somebody at the line of scrimmage. I mean, variance is when I get Carson Beck threw 3-4 picks against Louisville. There's why you lost, but I don't think he's that great. But again, they're spending there. Nobody else in that conference is for the most part. So, I mean, on paper, they're going to be favored in every game but one this year. Overwhelming favorites. Very similar thoughts to that I have with Tech in the Big 12. I mean, I favor Miami by at least a touchdown over anybody else. However, I think there's some teams with maybe a little bit more higher upside, higher variance than maybe even the Big 12. So I wouldn't be stunned if in the team that I've kind of looked to take advantage of that this year, win total, week 1, Heisman long shot, and even a conference long shot future. I like Louisville with Keenholz at quarterback. And I think Brahms he's capable of losing a game or two he shouldn't, but he's also capable a la beating Miami. I think he's got 4 top 5 wins already in his career. I wouldn't be a bit surprised Louisville is a team that maybe doesn't dethrone Miami, so to speak, but can capable of giving them a run.
Yeah, Jeff Brom can be really sneaky, can he? I thought you're going Florida State with some hate this year. I know that the chop has been against them. We've been chopping them down instead of their obviously fans chopping on us. When people are playing them, I don't know. Ever since that injury happened in their quarterback missing the playoffs when it was 4 teams, they've just spiraled. Can they rebound this year?
I don't think so. They got to win that Labor Day night game against SMU, and right now they're a short underdog. If they don't win it, they got Alabama on deck, so that'd be 2 losses right out of the gate. I think it'd be over. So I did bet under 6.5 wins. I just don't see it. Daniels doesn't move me at quarterback. You constantly got to rely on the portal. Never really fully grasp high school recruiting, which is asinine to me at a school like Florida State. They don't have the money. That's the only reason why Norvell's still there. They didn't have the money for the buyout. I just think it's pretty dire now, especially with Miami getting it in gear. I think Florida hired the right coach in Summerall. We'll get to that, but I don't see it. I got a couple of moles in that program, and they're not very optimistic. I'll put it that way.
You got a few moles in that program, I'm sure. Nev Santos, is it good to buy on smart schools? Notre Dame, Vandy, Michigan, good alumni. I do. I mean, obviously we saw a resurgence from Vandy. I'll throw Indiana in there. They're pretty smart, I think. There's advantages there. And yeah, I guess if the boosters start given more money, but the kids do stay a little bit longer in general. Now, are they always
Makes sense. I mean, Notre Dame is number one in the country in returning production. I mean, they were able to retain their roster more than anybody else. So yeah, it might be advantageous for schools like that.
Yeah,
More likely to go for the school instead of, kids still want to get paid and they deserve to get paid.
yeah.
But at a school like that, you're probably much more likely to stay. And we'll see.
Okay.
Boy, this is a big year for Vandy. We'll see what Clark Lee does. I'm not a
No doubt.
Pavia guy, but we'll see. I mean, they're certainly going to regress, but how much is going to be the big question.
I think their win total was, we'll get to the SEC, but I think their win total is around 6.5. I'll double check that, which is a big step down from what they did. It's like the market sniffs that crap out quick, and the books will throw
They
it.
do now, don't they?
They sure
No
do.
free lunches for the most part.
Nope, it's not quite as easy. And yeah, hard schedule for Florida State, aka Josh, or mentioned by Josh, I should say. Now, so should we get into other conferences or anything in the ACC, like North Carolina, Pitt? You got Bill Belichick sitting there. He's always a big story. You got Virginia Tech with a new coach, obviously coming in Franklin. What about any of these?
I've had mixed thoughts on Virginia Tech. That win total opened up, and keep in mind, I started betting these in March, so sometimes we're 2 months away from since then. I've changed my
6.5, 150 to the over, 6.5 minus 150.
Yeah, I played back a little over 6.5 after originally going under 7.5. So I hope to middle it, but my preference would be the second of the two bets there. I mean, he's got a lot of returning production. I think I don't like James Franklin, but I think it's a really good hire and it's a good spot for him for both. So he'll recruit. He's familiar with the area as far as recruiting Virginia and that Mid-Atlantic area. He gives some, pop to some Virginia Tech. The fan base deserves it. I mean, I grew up in the 90s. I mean, Virginia Tech Beamer ball was, great. I liked it, not watching it. So and there's opportunity in the conference. Are you kidding me? Outside of Miami, who's spending? Who's legit? Clemson's on the way down. Florida State's on the way down. So there's an opportunity to be that second program there. So I don't know if they'll be it this year, but I wouldn't bet against them, a couple years after he gets a couple of recruiting classes. So over 6.5 there. A couple other schools, I'm fading Cal a little bit. Lupoy's fine as a recruiter. I don't know X's and O's wise if he's going to make it as a great coach. So I'm kind of pessimistic there. I didn't touch Belichick. I thought the 4.5 was fair. Georgia Tech, I'm a little. I'll say this: nobody's really talked about this. I'm a little down on Georgia Tech this year. Not only losing Haynes King at quarterback, but I think very, very sneaky lost their OC and DC, who I think the world of. OC goes to Florida and Buster Faulkner. DC goes to Texas. I think those are two big time losses for that program.
I agree, and I'm glad you bet. You mentioned and it's kind of like what you're supposed to think of as a bettor. Things aren't absolutes, It's like I don't like James Franklin at a massive name school, but I do like him at Virginia Tech because it's a difference. It's like Virginia Tech needs something up, but it doesn't mean he's like elite to take somebody through the playoffs, but he's elite enough to change the culture of that school. And who knows what's going to happen when you make the playoffs. So I think that's how you got to think, I mean, if I give Notre Dame a 11.5 win total, Brad's going to talk the under, if I give,
and I bet under 11.5, even though I love the team this year.
Yeah. It's just all relative. It's like you can make an argument for and make an argument against, just like you can for a coach. So I really love that comment that you made. And yeah, I'm with you on Georgia Tech as well as Cal. I mean, Cal's just still sitting there at 6.5. That's a nice number at minus 110 here. And our friends at FanDuel, as well as a few other books that you can definitely get to that under. SEC time. So, we already mentioned Vandy and no Pavia this year. He's a little salty that he didn't get drafted. But you got under 6.5 already at minus 170. It's like, please give me a ball. I mean, I feel like 10 years ago it'd be 8 or something, right? But the market does sniff this stuff out quick, and I think Pavia is an interesting dude. His family's nuts, but we'll see if there's any hope for him in the NFL. But at the same time, Clark Lee, it did really resurrect this program. Is it worth taking a bet on this?
I bet under. You can still get an alternative. I think 6.5 minus 170 at DraftKings. I still think that's worthy of a bet. In fact, when I made the bet, I think it was minus 178 at a different book a month or so ago. One of the guys that I really respect, I'm not going to name names, but he's the biggest bettor I know, and he's a guy that he's mainly NFL, but he dabbles a little bit in college. He doesn't hardly ever bet any win totals. It's just he can't get enough down and doesn't feel like putting his holding the money up. Gave me one this year. Vanderbilt under 6.5 was the one that he bet. Last year was North Carolina under and Colorado under. Not that I already agreed with him. It's not like I need somebody to tell me what to bet in college football, but I just think it's notable that somebody that doesn't normally bet him bets him, not afraid to get some money because he just thinks it's a slam dunk. So
All right.
6-6. I 6-6 is going to be tough. That NC State game is going to be pretty critical in the non-conference. They lose that, you're going to your cash and you're going to the window.
Very true. That is a key swing game for them. What about Texas? I mean, what do you think of Texas? Who's your highest power rated SEC team right now? I'm scratching my head a little bit. I feel Georgia should be, but you got Texas there too. What do you think? I'm not sure if we're getting that bettable lines in one of the most popular sports books around, but at the same time, I'm really wondering if Arch is going to look better because he looked like crap last year, man.
It's a good question. I have Georgia power rated ahead of Texas. I mean, I think Georgia's had a couple of down years, and they still were able to win the SEC back-to-back years, and beat Texas 3 times and hammered them twice. So I don't agree with the market. Georgia over 9.5, even heavily juiced to the over. I love it. I mean, they got a difference between them and Ohio State. They're going to be favored in every game, and there's not a lot of toss-up games in my opinion. Maybe at Alabama, but other than that, I like Georgia quite a bit this year. So over 9.5, Georgia to win the SEC, especially if the book that you're looking at has them behind Texas. Texas did a great job in the portal. I like Cam Coleman at wideout. I like the 2 running backs they got, but I still think the offensive line isn't slam dunk national title contender. I think the market's overreacting to what Arch did his last couple of games. He looked good against A&M, looked great against Michigan, but I thought those 2 teams were flawed. To say the least. A&M got exposed in the playoffs, and Michigan was with the interim coach. And the Michigan game, I just watched it. They were losing. Texas was losing in the 4th quarter of that game against a Michigan team without a bunch of starters. Bryce Underwood threw 3 interceptions in the 4th quarter.
I know.
And I'll give you another 2 games with Texas that's bothering me. They legitimately should have lost 2 games at Kentucky and at Mississippi State.
Kentucky for sure. Kentucky for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most fortunate wins of any team in college football last year. I mean, it was one of the worst offensive performances of any team in any win in recent college football history. That's how bad it was. I think they had like 150 yards of offense. What's the narrative if they'd have lost one of them games? For them to be the national title favorite with that schedule where they play 8 teams in my top 25. No, I don't, there's not any surefire losses, but I don't trust it. If you just change a couple of letters in the quarterback's last name, Texas isn't the SEC favorite, and they're not one of the favorites to win the title. I know people will clip it up, but I'm telling you, that's how I believe.
Archie Fanning. We'll change the letters, my friend. We will. I definitely can't. It's funny. The market's 9.5. I feel like the market's going to be 9.5 on quite a few of these SEC teams because the way that's just always looked at is they always.
Well, the extra conference game basically knocked everybody down a half win.
Yeah, they still get an FCS game, but it's like the extra conference game definitely affects it. I wanted to ask you about South Carolina a little bit because I kind of looked at their returning numbers. And I almost feel like maybe this team could be sneaky. And I didn't do anything yet with them. Of course, I'm not quite as deep as you are. But, man, what's your outlook on South Carolina this year? Nobody's talking about them.
Yeah, that was my initial gut. I was pretty anti-South Carolina last year. That was my biggest position was under. That doesn't always work out for me. But this year, I'm kind of opposite. Now I think they should be getting a little bit more publicity. Sellers has got a full year as a starting quarterback under his belt. Schedule's a little bit more favorable for him, in my opinion. One of the first bets I made this offseason a couple months ago, but I bet over 5.5 wins. And I thought even 7 was more likely than 5. So it was one of my favorite bets that I made. 6.5 is obviously a lot more fair number. And I'm not a big Beamer guy, but I agree with you. I think this is the year they're flying a little bit under the radar, and I kind of like them this year.
Well, I
Not that
like
they're going to win the SEC or anything, but they can surprise. And they were close last year in a few. The Alabama game was one game where they probably could have won.
Well, I see some wins. I see a lot of wins. I see Kent State, Towson, and Mississippi State at home. I see Kentucky at home. So let's just say 4 wins there. Obviously, they could screw something up there, but at Arkansas, I mean, that should be your 5th win. Then you have to win against a Tennessee team at home that's a little down. You got to go Oklahoma at Clemson. Clemson's not been that great. I assume the loss against Georgia, but you got Texas A&M there who's changing quarterbacks. Lost their offensive coordinator. I see 6 wins for sure. I wrote that. I think I'm going to take 5.5 with you, but I'm going to shop it a little bit. I'm going to
shop it. I think you can get maybe an alternative. I laid some heavy juice again. Squares can be the squares of comment can be, but last I checked, you don't pay the juice if you win. So I think that's a winner over 5.5.
Yeah, they just return too many people, in my opinion. And that's their big quarterback. Everybody, right? It just feels like they didn't have a lot.
Redid the offensive line. It can't get any worse than last year. They brought in a bunch of transfers there, but I liked what they did in the portal. So I think the big thing with a program like that is confidence, and they got a lot of, I think, winnable games early to get them some, some momentum there heading into the SEC.
Yeah, and Lenore Sellers is still massively talented, big dude, strong, fast. He can just run his way to some of these wins. Let's talk about another SEC team that, for a coach that everybody thought was on the hot seat, that just got an extension in Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. And look, at me and you loved Kalen DeBoer back in the day. We loved him at Washington, right? We loved him before that. Was it Fresno he was at? I can't remember. Yep. We talked about him all the time, Brad. But now it's like it's just like the same thing with Franklin. Now Alabama's hired him. Not sure if we love him as much, right? I mean, and then he gets an extension. I guess that's the kind of help the recruiting and say, hey, this guy's going to be here for a long time.
7 years? I don't know.
I know you could have done 3 or 4. Yeah. I don't get it either. I think that was stupid. I mean, maybe they just have money to flush down the toilet if they have to fire him in 2 years.
I don't think they do. I don't think they have that as much money as like a lot of them Big Ten programs. They don't. And that's a problem. I think Saban wouldn't be as bad as what DeBoer's been the last couple of years, but Saban wouldn't be and here's the thing, people forget. Saban wasn't even Saban his last 3 years. Bryce Young bailed him out of a couple more losses, each one of them the last couple of years. I mean, hell, even his final year, they had that 4th and 26 against Auburn. They don't complete that pass. They're not in the playoffs playing Michigan. So it's just the Alabama fans not going to be accustomed to losing what they're going to lose, but that's just the new reality with them. Win total's 8.5. Can you imagine they go under that? And they're going to have them burned and burned at the stake at 8-4 again. But I think it's legitimate. I haven't bet over or under. I think it's a pretty fair number. I would say I'd lean over because I do like the upside of Russell at quarterback. They can't be any worse on the offense line than in the run game. And scheduled. They'll be
on Russell's going to start.
I think he'll start. He's just more upside than Mac, even though Mac's got more, time in the system. I like what I saw from Russell. Another thing I don't mind is that schedule. They should be favored in those first 5 games. Now, DeBoer hasn't taken care of business always at Alabama against the teams he should beat, but yeah, I think they're 5-0 playing Georgia. And, they've done well against Georgia lately, besides the SEC championship game.
Bobby is an Alabama fan. Thanks for checking in, Bobby. Their fans think they have money, but they don't.
No. And here's the thing. The owner of the car dealership worked in the pre-NIL era, getting a kid a car and, maybe 50 grand, 100 grand. That car dealership owner's not competing with the alumni of the Big Ten that's worth, 100 million or more. They're just not.
No, they're not. I agree. What else? The SEC, very popular conference. I want to stay in here a little bit longer. Florida is I'm scratching my head a little bit. They have a new coach, obviously, and I thought it was a pretty good hire. It's he was working in that state. Obviously, look what he did at South Florida. I feel like Florida kind of. I don't know a lot about their quarterback situation. Maybe you can educate me on them and talk about 6.5 to the over, which is juiced.
Yeah, I originally bet under 7.5. I just thought, man, Florida the last 5 years has a losing record. They're a losing program right now. And to expect 8-4 out of the first year coach, even though I really like John Summerall, I thought was asking a bit much. Watch the spring game. I was impressed with what they had in two positions. That much better than I anticipated. Wide receiver, getting a couple transfers, including a kid from Wake Forest and Singleton from Auburn, who originally was at Georgia Tech with the OC. That's from Georgia Tech. So I really like the staff. And defensive front was much better than what I thought. I knew linebackers would be good, but defensive line impressed me. Now, maybe Florida's offense line sucks. That's always, something the risky run in watching too many of these spring games. But 7.5, I think, is a fair number. I've gotten to the point where, hey, if I'm going to tie my money up, I really like under 7.5. And now it's a no bet. So if you wanted to bet over 6.5, I think it's an okay bet. Quarterback is the question mark. They got two guys. Philo is still, in my opinion, the slight favorite to get it, but he didn't have as good of a spring, at least spring game, as the other kid. They both are. What I liked is they pushing the ball down the field. I mean, the old school, fun and gun Steve Spurrier in a spring game. That's what the Florida fans want to see. Yeah. Let's throw it, not dink and dunk it. Let's throw it down the field. And they were both doing that. So I liked what I saw, and I like Summerall. So yeah, I think it's going to be a successcisul season. I don't think it's, a high value bet right now.
And I misspoke. Tulane is where he came from, but still, he's been around a long time. Played a part in Kentucky. Yeah, I think that with what he's been doing everywhere he's been, it seems like he really made Troy look good. Yeah, he's probably making some sense. It's funny, he's getting $7.5 million. Florida's got money. This is one of the top teams with the most money, and I've looked that up a couple different times, and so I think this team could be a little sneaky themselves. I don't know how sneaky, but this is why you're not any SEC 10.5 this year, unless your name is Georgia. Maybe I think you got to go under on that, and maybe alt line type thing and play some juice. But that's what I'm looking for in the SEC. Anything else we're missing in the SEC?
I'm not buying Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's getting too much pub. So I know that win total's moved to like a win already, but there was some early 9.5 under.
That was my biggest power rating move up was LSU because I was so low on them last year. I think I was like 12, 13.
Well, you had to be. I mean, with what happened at the end of last year. But, I mean, I upgraded them too, almost double digits. I'd favor them by, at least as of right now, by 10 over last year's team. And I still can't get to 9.5 wins.
8.5 where it's at.
I don't think they're a national title contender. I just don't. I'm not a big Sam Levitt guy. I'm not I think Lane Kiffin's good. Great play caller. Is he buttoned up enough they want national titles there.
I'm not a Sam Levitt guy either. And you have to remember, he threw to Cam Scatteraboo even a little bit, and obviously Jordan Tyson. I remember without Jordan Tyson, it was a struggle over there when he was injured, man. So I agree. I'm not.
And Levitt's not healthy. He didn't even play in the spring. Not healthy.
He might not play. Yeah. I mean, now it might not play much.
Well, I've heard some whispers on other things with Sam Levitt too, off the field. So he's a big wild card.
Me and you, I remember we did this show with Chris, and our big bet, under 5.5, we sniffed out with Arkansas last year. That hit. Now, they're pretty dang low. It's another one like you look at it, maybe it's South Carolina, but 4.5 under to -140. Jesus, can they not win 4 games? This 4 or 5 games? Yeah, this Arkansas team are they that bad this year?
Could be, and I don't like the higher. The thing it is, we easily won that bet, but man, they were probably the most unfortunate team in college football last year. I mean, power ratings wise, I thought Arkansas was closer to a 6-6 team. I mean, out of their they lost 10 games, and 8 of them were single digit losses. So they easily could have been much better than what they were a year ago. Usually, even with a different team, there'll be some regression, but where's the surefire 5 wins? I don't see it. So I think they could be 4-8 again. The big question there is, can Silverfield tap in? Somebody was asking earlier in the NIL era. A lot of times it ain't about X's and O's, it's about Jimmy's and Joe's. And can Silverfield tap into that Walmart money there in Fayetteville? That's going to be whether or not he succeeds or fails. If he can, he's going to be a total bust.
So they don't pay much until you win, right? Is that it?
They have not. Walmart has not. I think they put an advertisement on the field, but they have not stepped up and started paying. Now, obviously, Walmart, if they want to, Arkansas can be an SEC championship type team. but they have not stepped it up and ponied up and really made that like a $50 million roster yet.
All right. Bobby says Levitt off the field. True. Worse than anything you've been told. You got an insider going on, Bobby. That's good.
Yeah,
There
I've
you
heard
go.
some really bad stuff.
Okay.
Multiple, not just one thing. I mean, multiple subject matter.
Okay.
So, not good.
What? No, it doesn't sound good. In Arkansas, North Alabama, Tulsa, those are the wins for sure. But I mean, it sucks that you got to go to Auburn. You got to go to Vanderbilt because those are games you want at home for a win. You probably lose against Missouri at home. At Texas versus LSU at the end are losses. Yeah, I'm not seeing much past 3 or 4. Do I want to go under 4.5 juice with this team? Not really. The SEC, you never know what's going to happen, but yeah, I'll stay away from that one. But I just wanted to remind you that that was a nice position that we did have last year. Anything quick with the group of 5? I mean, the lines kind of came out more recent with a lot of these.
Yeah, they're not widely available. I did, DraftKings. I did take advantage of a few of them. There were some that I thought were off quite a bit. I said the no free lunches. I thought there was a couple free lunches there. One that I really like is I haven't told anybody this one, and I'm looking to make sure it hasn't moved too much. UConn under 6.5 is really, really good. UConn under 6.5.
Well, if you didn't tell Duck, that's what he gave out yesterday. So, yeah,
is that what he gave out yesterday?
Yeah, because you guys are big Jason Candle fans, right?
So, I didn't know. I had no idea he gave that out. I swear to God, I have no idea.
Oh no, I believe you guys.
I had no idea. That's a very, very bad number. The worst. I'll just say this: that's the worst number in the win total market this offseason.
I'm betting it.
I know it's 150. It should be 350. I think they're 4-8 type of team. So.
Okay. All right. UConn, tough. I mean, when you're Candle and you have all that talent and that's kind of what you did, it's
pathetic. I mean, they literally should have won the MAC every other year, if not every year. They had the most talent every year. It was just, I mean, they had 3 of their guys got the NFL combine just out of the secondary. 2 of the guys got drafted. I mean, It's just unheard of for a MAC team. And these, how they lost to BG last year, even though, I mean, I'm glad I'm an alumnus, but they're up 21-0 in that game. I mean, I laid it in game. I thought Toledo was going to win by 40 and they lost the game outright.
Oh, there you go. All right. Jake, he asked me this earlier, but I didn't want to circle back yet, but here we are. Clemson, 8 players getting drafted.
9.
Okay. That's 9 more than Wisconsin did. But still, you got to respect the fact that this team is not recruiting as much as they used to, not as well. Clemson's got a season win total that's always a little bit higher with Dabo. Right now it's at it's kind of between 8.5 and 7.5. 7.5 you get plus 115, but 8.5 is minus 200. So that's kind of a little tricky area there.
I'd lean more towards laying the juice under 8.5. I think a 7.5 is more of a fair number. The talent's not there. He had talent last year and he won 7 games. Now he doesn't have that talent. He's not replacing it like he was, the 5 years ago. You mentioned he's not recruiting. They're not a top 15 or top 20 recruiting type of team outfit right now.
You can take South Carolina over in that, hope for that, and then Clemson under in that last game of the season here. Could tell you what's going to happen to both those bets. I'm down on Dabo. I also thought his defense regressed a little bit when the coach went to Oklahoma, and that's definitely something I think that affected them. And
lots of things affected them. Venables leaving. Even though I'm not a big Venable, I am a big Venables DC fan. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Not getting that everything quarterback. And then there was some other NIL's changed everything. I think there might have been they were paying some people. Now all of a sudden, when everybody's paying somebody, they lose that advantage that they had.
It's at LSU is probably a loss, and then you got North Carolina, which is not. It's not going to be a loss most likely. That's Miami. You got to play.
That's a loss.
That's a loss.
I'm not big on LSU. I think LSU crushes them.
There you go. LSU at Duke is tricky. At Florida State, probably not so tricky. At Syracuse, Virginia Tech, you got James Franklin game. I think 7.5 is more proper than 8.5 for sure. So I would lay minus 200 quicker also and try to stop him. And go traveling to California right before your Miami game sucks as well. So that sucks for them. So I'm with you, Jake, on that one as well. But any long shots, any Heisman, anything that you kind of dabbled in before we go?
Not anything that I think is gonna win, but it doesn't stop me from betting it every now and then.
Sure. We get one
I
once
bet,
in a while.
yeah, I bet some Keelan Russell to win the Heisman because I think he'll win the starting job. That was again what I shopped, so I found 50 to 1. What is it now? 30 to 1. Lincoln Keenholz from Louisville, 100 to 1. Not that I think it's gonna win, but I think he can have a big year, and I think I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
35 to 1 for Russell on Alabama. 35 to 1 on DK.
I really didn't dabble. I thought I had a really good long shot with Texas Tech, 25 to 1 was one of the first bets I made, and now I think that's totally dead with Sorsby out. So I'm not a big long shot. I mean, I say that, and look what Indiana did last year, and Mendoza at quarterback. But I
took really Miami to make the playoffs at a decent number.
I did. Yeah, good point there. I did win that one.
I'm
glad you brought that up. That's when I want to jump in now because I got Miami 200 to 1 to win the title last year, and that was a week before the end of the regular season. So that's when you want to bet now. Because teams are going to lose games, and might as well just bet them after a loss or two. Like the Buckeyes, let's let them lose a game or two.
I'm going to bet Notre Dame season win total or future after the Wisconsin game. Why would you bet them now? Just make sure that Lambeau thing and whatever just doesn't mess with them. They're not, because you were not getting any worse, any better. It's not going to change with them winning against Wisconsin. It's going to be exactly the same thing. Yeah. So it's like, why not just wait? It's such a weird situation, and there's just no reason to bet Notre Dame until then, unless you think the Lions are going to move. Of course, that's when you do it. But
I'm not betting the favorites right now because it just. The lines aren't getting any better. I did, as much as I love Notre Dame this year, I bet, me, I bet under 11.5. Everything's got to go right for him to go 12-0.
Yeah, it does. I like quietly Lenora Sellers at 40 to 1, but not jumping at it or nothing right now.
Any long shot regular teams that you jumped in?
No, I haven't done anything yet. So that's how fresh I am right now, getting out of college basketball, getting out of Kentucky Derby, all that fun stuff. And
I know you're a big NBA guy too.
No. Brad knows. Come on. Can't stand it. I did make a few bets though in the NBA and won because I feel like without watching one game, it's better because you just know how the NBA works. I just look at who's going to bounce back. I think I laid even 9.5 at the Spurs tonight. Just very small bets, but that's how I do that's how I do that. Mensa is interesting too at 12 to 1 in Miami, just because they should, win 11 games and lose at Notre Dame. But
I can't wait. I'm hoping both teams are undefeated for that one.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And the other thing that's fantastic, following Brad Powers, getting his great information, getting on the stuff early. I wish we had more time, Brad. I want to talk more college football with you, but for all the people that love you and listen to you, where can they find your great information?
Yeah, the easiest place is Twitter, X, BradPowers7 is the handle. I got my free spring guide up there. You can check that out. Got best bets even in there if you want to dabble in some stuff and see. Yeah, you can check that out. And then BradPowersports.com is the website.
All right. Make sure you check out Brad. Brad will be back later this summer as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to this live broadcast. We will be back next time.